Right, let's jump into it and let's talk first and foremost. There's only one place to start, really, isn't there? And it is in relation to Benjamin Sesko. Now, we've heard a couple of reports over the weekend suggesting, United are interested. We know Newcastle are heavily involved in a potential deal for him as well. And yeah, to be honest with you, look, I'm not against Sesko at all. I'm really not. I think he would be a good signing for us. And I'll get into the reasoning in a few minutes as to why I think it might be a bit of a risk, and I've spoke about it before. But firstly, guys, Pletty Goal has come out today and he says, so obviously Florian Plettenberg works for Sky in Germany. It says, Man United are not giving up on Benjamin Sesko. They have presented Sesko with clear figures and their project. Sesko is impressed by United's efforts to sign him. However, Newcastle are fully in the race and are not backing down. An offer is ready to be submitted at any time. Leipzig are now demanding at least 80 million euros. So we're talking about, I think, is it around 68, 69 million pounds sterling? And then you would have to include add-ons on that as well. Now, Fabrizio Romano has given us an update as well, guys. He spoke a couple of times today on his own YouTube channel and on DAZN Football. He says, my understanding is that Newcastle already spoke to the agents of the player and presented their project. They are prepared to pay whatever it takes to get Sesko, but Man United are still in the race. They made contact in the recent days after discussing internally. Now they are working on the player side to present their project to understand the financials that they can make it happen. Now, sorry, let me zoom in on that a little bit so you can see it. So yeah, and look, Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United, what do we think about it? I mean, in a way, it's and this is no real dig at the player. I mean, this can happen for any reasoning at all, but we're down. It's not that we're left with Sesko, but Sesko is the next one on the chopping block to be moved. And look, we said on multiple occasions, going as far back as February, March, that this was going to be a striker window and a striker market. And we've seen Osimhen move, we've seen Gyökeres move, we've seen Ekitike move, and we're now talking about Benjamin Sesko. And Manchester United have been, I suppose, not in, but have been interested in the previous three that we mentioned. Now, does that mean that I don't want Sesko? Absolutely not. I mean, Sesko would be a very good signing for Manchester United, and I do think he is a very good footballer. I really, really do. I just don't know what the financials around a potential deal for him would look like to Manchester United. I don't know if we'd be able to afford him, to be quite honest with you. Now, maybe we are, and United would have to structure a deal quite smartly, because we know that there was money for about 2 players to be signed before we had to sell, and we haven't sold anybody yet. So can we go out and drop another 69, maybe 70 million pounds for Benjamin Sesko plus add-ons? That remains to be seen, and I'm not 100% sure. There is, however, supposedly a gentleman's agreement. Now, we've heard these gentlemen's agreement already, haven't we, with Gyökeres and Sporting Lisbon, and they didn't really stand up to their gentleman's agreement too much, the president of Sporting. But supposedly, there is a gentleman's agreement that Benjamin Sesko can go for around 60 million if a special club comes in looking for him. And that special club is deemed special by Benjamin Sesko. Are Man United on that list? I think if we're speaking about having such a, it's not even a clause, but having such an agreement in place behind the scenes, then I think Manchester United probably are one of them special clubs. Benjamin Sesko seems to be, I won't say a United fan, but he follows United on social media and all. And look, I'm not going to get carried away with that. We've been burnt by that one a number of times down through the years. But I certainly think if we're talking about if a special club comes in and it's between Manchester United and Newcastle, then it is Manchester United. And sorry to any Newcastle fans that are listening, but historically and, size-wise and just everything in general, Manchester United are vastly superior to Newcastle. The only thing Newcastle have over Manchester United currently is that they can offer European football. And yeah, I mean, Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United for big money like that is something that it doesn't fill me massively with confidence. That's what I would say. He's 22 years of age. He's the same age as Rasmus Højlund. Now, I think he's light years ahead of Rasmus Højlund. But we are going back in and talking about a potential... is it a potential signing, a potential player, a player with plenty of potential for the future, or is he ready to hit the ground running? Now, we've spoken in depth as well, haven't we, about Ollie Watkins and what potentially he could bring to Manchester United. Do you go out and spend £69 million on a 22-year-old in Benjamin Sesko, who's unproven in the Premier League? Or do you go out and try it? And again, this all comes down to finances, in my opinion. It all comes down to finances. If you could get Ollie Watkins for 40, 45 million, I would go for Ollie Watkins over Benjamin Sesko. But if you could get Benjamin Sesko for 60 with this gentleman's agreement that's in place, I think that probably sways me a little bit more towards Sesko. The one thing I would say is that Ollie Watkins is a safer option for Manchester United at the moment. It's the safer option. We can't take chances in the transfer market because of how much we were burnt over the last few years. The likes of Rasmus Højlund coming in, didn't do well. Look, we could list, 20 players over the last 10 or 15 years that haven't worked out. And we've seen United move towards a Premier League proven style of transfer window with Mbeumo and with Cunha coming in. And I think if you were to go and try and, I suppose, build on top of that, then it's Watkins for me, in my eyes. Now, there's pros and cons to both. Manchester United have been scouting Benjamin Sesko for 3 years now and are, have been keen admirers of him long before even Ineos got here. And obviously, when you bring the Christopher Vivell scenario into Manchester United as well, where he's got heavy ties, ties as in kids' ties, but ties, TIES, in the Bundesliga, and he's got a vast knowledge of players playing in that league, and of course the whole Red Bull umbrella as well, that he was involved with, while Sesko was at RB Salzburg. He's well scouted. He's absolutely well scouted. But again, you're taking a chance. You're taking a chance by going out and signing another 22-year-old. You really, really are. And if it doesn't pay off, we're in big trouble. Look, we've been going... How far back have we been going? Last summer we were talking about, Højlund had a average enough for a season. We went out and got what we thought was a striker. It turned out to be Xerxes, who's not a number 9. The year before, it was, Ten Hag relying on Anthony Martial, who couldn't stay fit. The year before, it was Cristiano Ronaldo, who tended to throw his ties out of the pram and have interviews with, certain scummy journalists. You go back to Edison Cavani before that, who, was completely disrespected when Cristiano Ronaldo came in and shunted and cast aside. You go back to Ibrahimovic, who had one good season, then couldn't stay fit after that and got injuries. You go back to Robin Van Persie, who had one good season under Ferguson and everything changed. And, when was the last time Manchester United signed a striker that was scoring 20 goals a season on the regular for 5 or 6 years? You'd probably have to go back as far as Wayne Rooney, to be quite honest with you. So it's a big concern. It is a big concern. And it's a concern that the powers that be at Manchester United need to get this right. They need to get this striker search right this summer. If you're going to go out and pay 60 million for Benjamin Sesko, and you can get it in installments, and you can get it, over a 4 installment plan, like we said before, where it's, 15 million over 4 different installments, then absolutely fantastic. But if it's 60 million and you've got to pay, 50 of it up front, and then you've got to pay another 10 next year, and you've got installments of another 10 on top of that of add-ons, and it gets messy. If you go out and get Ollie Watkins and you can get him for 40, 45 million pounds off Aston Villa, Premier League proven, you get 2-3 years out of it, fantastic. And maybe in 2 years' time then you go back into the market for a striker, to preempt Ollie Watkins coming to the end of maybe his peak in a year or 2 or 3 years' time. I think that's probably the safer option in my eyes, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't want Benjamin Sesko if he comes to Manchester United. I really wouldn't. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Guys, take a second, smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. We've only got 8 likes in the door so far. Terrible carry on from me. Take a second. If you're in the live chat, just X off the live chat, hit the like button on your phone and jump back in. Then it helps the channel out massively. What are we saying here? Ben is in. He says, is there a reported fee? Yeah, we discussed that. How much is wanted for Watkins? We don't really know. Aston Villa supposedly are talking at about 60 million. Are you going to realistically get that for him? The thing about it is with Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa, Manchester United, is that everybody knows that Villa are skint. Everybody knows that Villa are skint. And I think Ollie Watkins could be a type of signing that, do you know the way the signings that we have now where, you know, it's going to drag on and drag on and drag on, and, you know, Anthony, for example, with Betis, and they'll all of a sudden come up with the money with a week to go in the transfer window because they know United will take anything to get him off the books. I think that's probably what could happen with Ollie Watkins. Everybody knows that Villa are skint. And the reason why Villa are skint is because I think they fourfolded their wages over the last 3 or 4 years. And, you know, they banked on getting into Europe, which they did, and they got into Champions League football, but they didn't sustain it over a 2 or a 3 year period. And they need to sell this summer. And United know that. So, you know, I think you could get Ollie Watkins for a knockdown price of 40, 45 million maybe with a couple of weeks to go in the transfer window. But what you do have to realise then is that you're starting the season again with Rasmus Højlund up front. You know, and look, while I've said in the past, I think Rasmus Højlund, you know, I wouldn't be against Rasmus Højlund being kept at Manchester United as a backup. I certainly would like us to be going in to the Arsenal game. If it is Benjamin Sesko, I would like. Could you imagine going into that Arsenal game with a forward line of Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko with Bruno, Ugarte, Ahmad, Dorgu, you know, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Heaven, you know, it's not a bad side. It's not a bad side. And it's not a bad forward line either. So let's see what happens. Ben says, can footballers stop with these handshakes and put pen to paper with these agreements? Yeah, well, see, I mean, no club is going to really put that into paper because it's set in stone then. You know, it's not the players, it's the clubs. Players and agents would have probably tried to get these things put into deals and so on and so forth, but clubs are going to go, absolutely not. They say, look, if Man United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus come in for you, and they're the 4 clubs that you want, if they come into you, then look, we'll shake hands and, you know, absolutely. But we're not putting in on paper that if someone comes in with, it's like a release clause for all the world. You know what I mean? We need Watkins right now. He's not a risk, but he's too old. I don't think he's too old, to be quite honest with you. I think you could easily get Ollie Watkins on, you know, a 4-year deal. He'd be 33 by the time it ended, and you could look to move him on in 2 or 3 years' time. I just think it would give Manchester United that little bit of wiggle room over the next couple of seasons. I could easily see Ollie Watkins scoring double figures again for another 2 or 3 years in the Premier League, and especially when you have somebody like Cunha and Mbeumo, Bruno, whoever else, you know, Mason Mount, Kobbie Mainoo, all of these very creative players behind him. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely could see him score an awful lot of goals. I think we could get a couple of years out of him. We need Watkins, but we can't get bent over with the price either. And look, Ben, I don't think we have got bent over, with since Ineos have come in. I mean, have we? Maybe Ugarte, maybe we knew we wanted to get somebody in that position, and look, I think Ugarte, I'm tipping Ugarte to have a very good season this year, but maybe we kind of jumped to their valuation. I think Lenny Yoro, we needed to go high with Lenny Yoro to keep him out of the grasps of Real Madrid, but I think with Cunha and with Mbeumo, I mean, I think it's good. It's great value for money, considering how the payments are broken down. I think it's very, very good. Ben says, for right now, I think it has to be Watkins and maybe a bigger striker to build on next year. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Anna says, I feel like we're never going to get Sesko, but I would love him. Technically fast and great header off the ball. To be honest with you, I have a feeling we could get Sesko. I just have a sneaky suspicion. It's been made very public about Manchester United going for him over the past day or so. And it's not that we've missed out on other strikers. Like we haven't, right, maybe we missed out on Gyökeres, but it looked like he always wanted Arsenal and, we couldn't offer him Champions League football. We did want Osimhen, but he was never going to lower his wages. And I don't think we were ever fully in for Ekitike. We inquired about him and what it might cost, and we went, ooh, no thank you. So, while I do think we slightly missed out on all of them players, I don't think we were fully in for him. We know now that Manchester United are looking to go for Sesko, and it's been made very public. I don't think United can afford to miss out on him now. Now, and I don't mean that means that United are going to go out and spend silly money on him. And I think ultimately, if we can't get him for the right price, I think we would walk away. But I've just got a sneaky suspicion now that United are going to try really hard to make Benjamin Sesko our next signing. I genuinely do. All of the tick box exercises that you see with with the rumor mill and Fabrizio is talking about it now, and the only person who hasn't spoken about it really is David Ornstein. We're getting it from Florian Plettenberg, we're getting it from Fabrizio Romano, multiple outlets around England and Germany are talking about it. We've got the connection with Christopher Vivell, who knows him very well now. United have been scouting for you. I've got a feeling we're going to get him, and I mentioned it today on TikTok as well, that or on Instagram, that Benjamin Sesko was offered, or the package from Newcastle was put on the table for Benjamin Sesko last week. Okay, he's waiting. He hasn't accepted anything from Newcastle yet. He's waiting for United to come in. And sorry, Newcastle, but if United come in, I think he comes to us. Newcastle have missed out on everybody this summer. Absolutely everybody they've missed out on. They're going for Aaron Ramsdale in the goal. And it looks like they're going to lose out on Isak. Now, the only thing that will sway it in Newcastle's favour, in my eyes, is the finances. Okay? If this whole gentleman's agreement maybe doesn't fall into place for Manchester United, and you're talking about, £70 million, I think Newcastle have that in a heartbeat. And not because they've got rich owners, they've still got to spend within their means, but they've got it in a heartbeat because of the potential Isak sale to Liverpool. By the way, if Liverpool get Isak, the league is over already. Liverpool are going to walk it. But anyway, so yeah, I think that's what's going to maybe allow Newcastle maybe into the race a little bit. But Sesko is holding firm for Manchester United. I think if we can come in and we can put a package in front of Benjamin Sesko that he's happy with, and he goes, yes, I want to, and then all of a sudden we hear from Sesko that he only wants Manchester United and he doesn't want Newcastle. Let's get fucking negotiating with Leipzig, and then you try and put a good deal in place, which I think United have done. I think we've put a good structure behind Mbeumo and a good structure behind Cunha as well.